strategies, and obviously preparing for what lies ahead at the COP29 in Baku. Now, I'll just give a brief about the three-day event. So the day one of the Asia Climate Summit 2024 focused on fostering collaboration and developing a unified narrative for climate action. The inaugural session emphasized strategic communication as a key catalyst in aligning diverse stakeholders around common climate goals. Key discussions explore leveraging carbon markets for sustainable growth in India, the financial sector's role in addressing climate risk, and initiatives for land conservation and collaboration with businesses. There were several side events also that took place, which provided insights into the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, investment opportunities and carbon credit projects, and comparisons of global carbon market schemes which are relevant to India's upcoming trading framework. The day highlighted the critical intersections of communication, finance, and market strategies in driving effective climate action. Now, on the day second, it focused on the evolving landscape of carbon markets across the whole Asia-Pacific region. The government and the private sector roundtables were held, which highlighted recent advancements in the carbon pricing instruments and regulations, addressing the challenges and opportunities in expanding the compliance markets. There was a significant discussion also wherein Article 6 insights were shared over Business Pulse survey, shedding light on the private sector expectations regarding the Article 6 transactions. The side events on the day second dwelled into critical topics, including barriers and opportunities for scaling high quality offsets, the importance of resilient registry systems to safeguard national data and integrate with global markets, and the role of VCM, which is a voluntary carbon market, in driving investments for decarbonizations. And the second day concluded with discussions on increasing the use of independent crediting programs in compliance schemes, emphasizing the implications for global climate action. Overall, the day two was based on the importance of collaboration between governments and private sectors in advancing effective carbon market strategies. Now, on the day third, which was more like a farewell kind of event where everyone bid farewell to each other, to all the attendees, and they were like, we'll stay connected with each other for productive discussions ahead in COP and all. So day three was focused on high integrity voluntary carbon market discussions in driving green transition across the Asia Pacific region. The day three discussions, the sessions and all emphasize the importance of robust guidance and incentives to enable private sectors leadership in climate action, highlighting incentives that encourage sustainable practices. Now, there were certain sessions that took place around CBAM and discussion centered on how companies in Asia are preparing for the CBAM's definitive phase starting in 2026, which introduces carbon tariffs on selective imports like steel, cement, and iron. Additionally, there were certain discussions during the summit which revolved around the Japan's joint crediting mechanism, JCM. So the sessions there and discussions explored how carbon markets can facilitate linkage across the Asia-Pacific region, discussing carbon pricing, incentives like the GX ETS, and their significance in the transition to net zero. Overall, day three reinforced the need for collaborative efforts in implementing all of these strategies. Now, as I mentioned, Team GC was actively involved during the summit. So we have with us the founder of GC, the chairman of FSC, and the advisor to Grinko and the World Bank, also the co-chair of FICCI, Dr. P. Ram Babu, to share with us the insights, that the key developments that were discussed in the summit, to reflect on the three-day premier event that occurred. So please, sir. Can you throw some light over the key developments that we discussed during the event?
Thank you, Mala. And I listened to you briefing out all the 3 days and the program, and I'm sure everybody would join me in saying that you did a wonderful job. So let me add a few more of my observations. One is that this is a flagship event of International Emission Traders Association, and International Emission Traders Association does the regional climate summits, and in Asia every year it does, and most of the time it happens to be in Singapore, and a few times it went to Bangkok, and I see that today it shifted to India, and it's a very important event. Just preceding the COP29 at Baku. And second, this FICCI, who has been the front runner in organizing climate-related discussions and deliberations in Indian industry, has also been conducting for last more than a decade a climate conclave each year. And this year, that India's climate conclave and Asia Carbon Summit, they joined each other, and this event is the result of that, and that is the reason why there was so much amount of enthusiasm and enlightenment in the whole discussions, etc. etc. And also, this event is being conducted at a during a juncture when new international carbon market and multiple domestic markets across all geographies are getting finalized, and it appears that we all will race towards net zero. And in that race, the carbon price and carbon markets will play a very important role. So that is becoming more and more clear now. It is at this juncture this carbon summit was held, and the first thing I wanted to say is that FICCI released its position paper on international carbon market in the inaugural session on the first day. And it was a very important points that they made out in that particular paper, right? It of course it in its recommendations it appealed to Government of India that the Article 6 procedures and rules, etc., have to be finalized as soon as possible. It also pointed out that the Government of India was one of the first amongst all nations to move and notify the positive list for Article 6. That means the projects that will not be counted within the NDC, and the emission reductions generated from these projects can be taken out of the country and can be subtracted from the country's emission reductions account, and such exportable or correspondingly adjusted emission reductions can participate in the international market. So that positive list was, India was one of the first one to notify that, and it did it about 3 years ago. And also it put together an institutional mechanism to authorize projects to go out of the country, and many other matters. The institutional mechanism is supposed to sort out matters related to Paris Agreement. So the institutional mechanisms and positive lists were always there, that the position paper pointed out that. But the important thing is, actually in India, out of the 13 earlier 13 categories and now 14 categories that are notified for internationally transferred mitigation outcomes, in a popular language, call them as exportable carbon credits. Okay, so the list that has been made, Indian industry on its own, okay, took a risk and announced more than $15 billion investment into all these projects, expecting a carbon price. If the carbon price and its realization and the mechanisms, rules, etc., don't come into the picture, there could be a significant impact on all these projects and their actualization. So it's very important for Government of India. The position paper points out, FICCI's position paper, that we need to accelerate, okay, the operationalization of Article 6, both Article 6.2 and Article 6.4, as soon as possible. But beyond that, it went one step further and pointed out, even though the Article 6 is designed in the Paris Agreement, in which case the developed nations take a more aggressive net zero targets, or NDCs, also NDCs and net zero targets. And to achieve the NDCs and net zero, ambitious NDCs and net zero targets, they will do best of their efforts. But they will also do one more thing, that is to support the developing nations and least developed nations, okay, to also, okay, achieve their NDCs and also the net zero targets. Up to their NDCs, the developing countries and least developed countries are expected to do their own efforts. But beyond NDCs, for them to be able to create infrastructure to go to net zero, beyond 2030, okay, that help, okay, has to come. And those projects are exportable carbon credits. And those are the projects that can create ITMOs. And that is what is Article 6. Article 6 has a very, very noble aim, or a very important and critical objective, to actually widen and deepen the climate action in developing and least developed countries, so that everybody realizes, without these countries acting and developed nations alone acting, okay, will not be able to achieve the net zero. And Article 6 is designed for that. And what is really happening is that there seem to be some sort of a positioning in the developed world that doing by themselves to reach their NDCs is a virtue. The position paper clearly point out is that such a virtuous position is actually harmful to the climate action. It is very important that part of the target that they want to achieve under Paris Agreement has to be allocated for Article 6, so that there will be an effort to drive the developed and least developed nations to take actions beyond their own NDCs, so that tomorrow they will also start going towards the net zero. So that was that, creating the demand and clearly articulating that it is not a virtuous position, it is not a good stand to take, that everything we will do by ourselves and we will limit our action to the extent that we can do by ourselves. There are two aspects to it. The action, we will do it by ourselves. Second is, we will limit our action to the extent that we can do it by ourselves. Both these positions are not correct positions. And we sort of, the position paper appeals to Government of India to take these positions to COP29 and see to that it is not only the operationalization of Article 6 happens, but also the demand for Article 6 credits, okay, will start going into hundreds of billions of dollars to trillions of dollars. And that is the amount of money that is required for the climate transition. So the energy transition and the net zero journey. So that position paper was very, very important. It is a brief 10-page position paper, but it represents the views of Indian industry, and it was presented. And from PMO, Mr. Tarun Kapoor was to be there, but some unfortunate technical glitches were there. He couldn't actually release the paper, but the PMO is also clued onto these positions that are articulated within the position paper, and we hope that some reflection of that will happen in COP29. Next, there was lots and lots of talk today, okay, about in the Asia Climate Summit around voluntary carbon market, and then on one side you have a compliance markets driven by domestic markets and also driven by the international carbon markets of Article 6. Domestic markets to meet the NDCs of the countries, and over and above the NDCs, if there is a climate action, that becomes the part of international carbon market. There is one side, but there is already a voluntary action market, which has been happening in the absence of Kyoto Protocol and also Paris Climate Agreement operationalization. I think a very, very important role that the voluntary markets played over the last decade. Hence, there were quite a large number of people who have invested their energies and resources into the voluntary markets. And there is a definite interest in continuing the voluntary action beyond whatever the governments are taking action. Okay. But only challenge that it is there is that the voluntary action, how credible it is, and how to improve the integrity of that voluntary action. But one important thing about the Asia Climate Summit deliberations is that most of the voluntary action that was discussed appears today to be something like a nature-based solutions and community action. And as all of us know, in the climate action, the amount of carbon dioxide emission reductions that we need to effect is around 30 to 40 gigatons. And all said and done, the nature-based solutions can play a role of up to max up to 5 gigatons. So we are, lot of voluntary carbon markets seem to be getting restricted to, high integrity markets are getting restricted to, okay, somewhere that agriculture oriented, forestry oriented, blue economy oriented, okay, nature based solutions, okay, and which have their own problems like permanency, etc., etc. So the voluntary market has been, the Asia Climate Summit has told that seem to be not addressing the larger issues of energy transition, green hydrogen, green ammonia, and carbon capture, utilization and storage, direct air capture, and new technologies of renewable energy generation seem to be away from all of that and seem to be sort of playing much critical role in what a farmer can do. And it also started talking about climate plus benefits and many more things like that. Okay. So that is what is about the voluntary markets. And coming to the Article 6, I think the Article 6 game is expanding. And it is not only for compliance. Article 6 is 6.4, especially is creating a clear window of utilizing Article 6.4 credits with corresponding adjustments, without corresponding adjustments. If it is with corresponding adjustments, then Article 6.4 will become an ITMO. And without corresponding adjustment, possibly it will become like it can be used either by CORSIA or for any voluntary action or any domestic market, etc., etc. So I think there is a very the UNFCCC with all its expertise, with all its resources and reach, okay, is again coming back after a long time with a huge framework, which definitely poses some sort of a threat to a lot of effort that also has gone in the voluntary guideline, preparing the voluntary guidelines, methodologies, registries, and a lot of capacities that were created. I think, needless to say, these are not two sort of opposing forces. There are, I can see very positive moves in the summit. These two forces have to work hand in hand and supplementing to each other. And the climate task is a very, very big task. It requires all the forces to join hands. And voluntary has a voluntary markets, voluntary action has some role and limited role. And to that extent, it has to play a role. And the larger role being played by the compliance markets in each country and the international complex market, okay, led by UNFCCC under supervisory body of Article 6 and the all mechanisms thereon. So I think that seems to be the consensus. And while this consensus is emerging, there is a lot of interest in the investor community, significant interest actually. The investor community is clearly looking for investing into energy transition and new technologies, etc., etc. But there is an investor community, even impact investor community, okay, which is clearly looking into investing into agriculture related projects, forestry related projects, and blue economy related projects, etc., etc. So investor community also becoming very, very serious about things. And investor community, as Mala also said during the summit, also started looking at their own portfolios and the kind of risk that their portfolios face because of the both physical and transition risk posed by the climate change. And there was one first day itself, there was a lot of discussion around the Reserve Bank of India's new requirement that all these financial institutions in India has to actually disclose their implications on their financial numbers due to the physical and transition risk. I think there was quite a lot of concern, and also surprisingly and pleasantly, we also have seen that the Indian banks are already sort of up to the level, and they all have some levels of preparation to be able to address this particular challenge. So to that extent, and also Mala has said that there is a lot of discussion on CBAM. Okay, uh, this is another way of actually bringing in the carbon price. The one effort I think people are not appreciating is that developing markets are saying that we will do everything ourselves and we will impose penalties and restrictions on the developing world or the least developed world. And CBAM was being looked at something like this. It would have been a fantastic thing if the whole thing comes as an incentive, okay, and also some sort of a Article 6 kind of a thing. And there is a money flowing into the our industries, hard to abate industries like steel or etc., etc., okay, to transition to a low carbon option and alternative. And then comes the penalty kind of a regime. So there was definite resentment in the industry participating from the developing and least developed part of the Asian community and the global community. Now this the CBAM is wonderful. It's required, it's desirable, but that is not the only step. Okay, the Article 6 needs to be speeded up so that the money comes to developing world and the least developed world to traverse a low carbon growth path. And after a certain amount of time, after assisting them to take up that low carbon growth path through Article 6, possibly the CBAM kind of step would have been much more welcome. But at any way, the CBAM is a reality that the government of India and Indian industry and much of the Asian industry is already planning to address the CBAM. And to the extent to address the CBAM, if they can either use the carbon price internally or carbon price set by the governments, their own governments, or international carbon price, they will look at all options to address this the CBAM kind of restrictions that are there. And another thing we were looking at is that there was last day there was a session on joint crediting mechanism. Joint crediting mechanism, as all of you know, is one of the oldest Article 6 mechanism. It is almost becoming like an Article 6 6.2 architecture. So much so that every new countries that are coming together are following the same typical model of the JCM. That what I meant by saying is that two countries will come together, they will sign a overarching bilateral agreement, then they will form a committee, common committee of both countries, then the projects get submitted, the projects get evaluated, and the credits will be issued and the countries will share, and there will be a joint agreement to transfer those credits at a particular price, and at that price, the entity who is in the host country will receive those revenues. This whole architecture seems to be becoming de facto Article 6 architecture, but it was also pointed out that this is not the only architecture, neither it is the most desired architecture. So the countries can have, for single projects, a multilateral understanding. The countries need not also have a overarching bilateral deal. They can also have project to project bilateral, multilateral arrangements. And in some situations, such an architecture may be more acceptable for host countries and also the buying countries. And also it may reward and award with a better price if such non-restrictive, overarching, only bilateral agreements become the architecture of the Article 6. I think that also came out very nicely. So there's a lot of enthusiasm that the markets are finally transitioning to more compliance driven, more international markets. And the compliance driven word also adds to the carbon, that the carbon will not be double counted any further. The carbon will have a higher levels of integrity, and with all this together, carbon will significantly have higher prices. Okay, so that seems to be some sort of a summary that is coming out of the Asia Climate Summit. Yes, Mala, thank you, and I am open for questions from you and your audience.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for providing in-depth, deeper insights of the key developments that were discussed during the summit and taking us to the three-day event. I am sure it has provided us a deeper understanding of the path forward for carbon market and all. Also, before taking up questions, we will also, before moving ahead, I would like to highlight, as sir discussed, that during the inaugural session of the summit, FICCI released its position papers. I would like to share it with the audience that Ram sir was one of the key delegates who inaugurated the session and released the position paper of FICCI. So moving ahead, we have our another leadership, Ms. Anuradha Singh, Associate Director, Lead of Carbon Markets. I would like to, as we briefed out that there was a lot of discussion about Article 6 during the summit. So there was also a particular event that discussed out, like it was like a master class for Article 6, which offered in-depth exploration of Article 6.
Hello, sir. Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. Yes, okay, sir. Yeah, I am fine, sir. I'm fine, sir. Are you in Delhi, sir?
I'm in Delhi.
Okay. So I just wanted to know about.
Yeah. So we were discussing regarding one of the master class that took place on the first day of the summit, which offered an in-depth exploration of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, focusing on both market and non-market mechanisms. So I would like to invite Anuradha ma'am to throw light on the key developments that were discussed during this master class and what is the way ahead as we move towards COP29. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much, Mala. Yes, till now, I think most of the things, like there is nothing for me to say because everything has been covered from you and Ram sir. But yes, it was like overall, ACM is a platform where we get actually the update from the people who are making the policies and are into this practically giving you the update. So this was very insightful. And if I talk about especially the article 6.4, so this was practically what happened. Let me go from the beginning, what happened into the carbon market. So carbon market, when it started, was all about the Kyoto Protocol. And that time it was a kind of market where it was a proper agreement between developed and developing countries. And from there, with the up and down of the carbon market, we explored into voluntary market, and then into the Paris Agreement, which happened in Jan 2021. And with that, more moving towards the Article 6.2, there was a phase that at UNFCCC was like little lagging in terms of giving their framework, because CDM was not active that time. No doubt in terms of methodologies, it was the only platform, but in terms of the other framework or other policies, it was a little lagging behind. And just before this COP29, the Article 6.4 came up with a full energy and gave its overall new terms and methodologies, which is more rigorous, which is more robust in terms of that will give us more and more project feasibility, project accomplishment. So this was all about giving you the proper updated methodologies, which will be taken from the last CDM platform, and this will the revised version. And here, this will not have any loophole in terms of, if you have a project initiation, then it should get completed. It should get registered within 1 year. And moreover, if you have the project implementation has been done already, within 3 months of time, you have to have the host country approval. So these are some new formulation and new terms which UNFCCC has come up with. And we are very optimistic in terms of, if the Article 6.4 will be more active, then there will be and more opportunity for carbon market expansion. And in terms of, though, if we talk about Article 6.2, this has to be between government to government agreement. Our current situation is, yes, each and every buyer country like Singapore, Japan, everyone is coming up with signing the agreement with more and more country. But if we see from the angle of developing world, so from there, they have not developed that robust technology, that robust platform from where they can deliver these kind of projects to these buyer country. So from that prospect, Article 6.4 will play a vital role, and we will able to have more and more projects into the market, and from where emission reduction can happen more on a faster way. So this, we are practically before COP29. This will come up with more robust technology, more robust mechanism, and definitely we will be able to see more and more projects coming uh, into the market. So this was all from especially that Article 6.4 session, which happened in the Asian Climate Summit.
Also, ma'am, we would like to hear from you your experience of the summit as a whole.
Yes. So definitely, attending a platform like ACS is a great opportunity for everyone. And the Asian Climate Summit provided for in-depth discussion on various approach required to tackle climate change in Asia. And the summit is more insightful as we directly get the update from experts and policymakers. Overall, if I talk about a significant theme which was discussed, was revolving around the sustainable finance, highlighting the importance of mobilizing private capital from green projects. Financial sector leaders discussed a way to support climate resilient infrastructure, carbon market development, and risk mitigation strategies, because the carbon market is all about how you minimize the risk during the accomplishment of these kind of projects. And yes, this was more insight, because on a business perspective, if I see, you find uh, all kind of business models in one place. So yes, there was a project developers, there was a financiers, there was a policymaker. So finding all of them in a one place and understanding the synergies between all and finding the business opportunity there was a really a fantastic opportunity for me. Yes, so I think this is from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your experience and taking us through the key developments in the space of Article 6.4 specifically. We now understand that as the carbon market continues to evolve, staying informed and adaptable remains the key here. We hope this session has provided a deeper understanding of the ACS and the key developments that took place there, with parts moving forward for businesses and policymakers alike. Now we are open for the questions. If anyone has anything, we are open for discussion.
Mala, I just wanted to know, you had mentioned that there were a few more experts that you had contacted during the session. Will they be joining today, or do you think you will be having one more session to cover some of those experts post Diwali or whatever?
Yes, sir. So we are planning to have another session around pre-COP and the summary of ACS also, like the review and all. We'll have it around the next week, which is first week of November, around 7th or 8th October. We'll let us know our audience about it, and we'll have certain external experts as well who we got to connect during the summit in Delhi. And so we'll have them for discussions around ACS and Article 6.4 specifically, and what we can expect from COP moving ahead.
Thank you so much, Mala.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Then shall we conclude the session?
There's a question from Tanmay.
Sure, sir.
How CBAM phase out will work out? Is it on total emission or over cap? How CBAM will behave once CCTS is applied?
We would request Ram sir to kindly address this query.
Yeah. Yeah, the CBAM phase is already phases are already notified. Immediately, I will not be able to recall that the phases from 20 up to 2026. I think it is only limited to scope 1. Okay, not even scope 2 is covered, and after that, the scope 1 and scope 2 will get covered, and the scope 3 emissions coming into CBAM is quite late into the day. Right, and you can definitely refer to already announced Fit for 55 plans of EU, where the CBAM phase out is announced. Only good thing about the recent development that has happened is that CBAM for the sectors that were announced to be part of the CBAM, for the products that are even the life cycle activity that was performed by small and medium scale industry, okay, it will not be part of the CBAM. What I meant by saying is that, number one, if there is a small medium scale industry which is making certain steel products and exporting that steel products to Europe, it will not be covered by CBAM. Second, a medium or a small scale industry which is a part of a larger value chain of a steel manufacturer who is exporting to EU, and the footprint of the small and medium scale manufacturer who is providing some part of the services to a larger manufacturer and exporter to Europe, his footprint, the SME's footprint, will not be covered. And that is one thing that is being discussed and thrashed out between not government of India. EU is going to make it, once thrashed out and decided, EU will make it out applicable to all the countries. So we hear that is being discussed. I'm not exactly sure whether it has already been notified or not, but we are aware that that is one part of the discussion that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other question?
Yeah, that's it, I think. There's just one thing. When would you have the second session? When do you think? The first week it will be announced, right? The date will be.
Right, so it's most probably on the 7th of November.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So before we wrap up, I would like to thank a team at the Forum for Sustainable Enterprises for their invaluable contributions in making this broadcast possible. Also, a special thank you to our expert panelists for their valuable insights. Now, this broadcast is by Forum for Sustainable Enterprises, and at FSC, we are dedicated to driving the transition to net zero 2050, the circular economy, and the UN SDGs. So, as we embark on this journey towards sustainability, we would like to invite all our viewers to be a part of it. We welcome partners, reporters, contributors, and anyone passionate about sustainability to join us in sharing their stories and making a difference. You can share your interest by reaching out to us at broadcast@fsc.org.in. I would repeat again, at the mail ID broadcast, broadcast@fsc.org.in, as shown on the screen, and tell us how you would like to contribute in the broadcast moving ahead. Let's work together to create lasting change, one broadcast at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss this ACS summit. Thank you so much.